The final hole here at the Hills, a wonderfully challenging hole at 433 metres, and it may well be right here that the fate of this championship is decided later today. Bruce Young, we have a classic Anzac clash shaping up here, haven't we? A bunch of Aussies on one side and a bunch of Kiwis on the other, dominating the leaderboard. What do you think might happen here today?
Well, Telf, I think the first thing we've got to remember is the congested nature of the leaderboard. Something like 15 players within 4 shots of the lead, headed by Dimi Papadatos, relatively inexperienced, against the experience of Richard Lee and Mark Brown. And I think Ashley Hall, another Australian, is very much in the mix. He's quite credentialed. So whatever happens today, the winner of this New Zealand Open title is going to have to go low.
So let's check out some of the early action on the front nine on the last day. Here's our overnight leader, Papadatos, with an opportunity here on the very first hole to extend his lead. The easiest hole on the course, chipping close to the pin, nails that putt for a 4. But he came slightly unstuck here on this short par 4 fifth, tricky hole with a very small green. Just didn't quite give it enough, and he made bogey there.
Richard Lee here at the second after finding trouble from the tee. This actually his 4th shot. He would go on to make that putt, but the bogey saw him drop back to 10 under. And here at the par 3 4th, another wayward tee shot for Lee, leading to another bogey, and all of a sudden he was back at 9 under. But here at the par 4 6th, he was able to get one of those shots back when from behind the hole he's made birdie and he's back at 10 under.
Ryan Fox with a little chip here, trying to get up and down on this par 5 ninth, just getting it to the ridge and letting it free wheel down to the pin, just trying to build some momentum into his round. He would make that putt, his second birdie of the day, to get him to 11 under. Also making a charge on the last day was local pro David Klein. This is his tee shot here on the par 3 10th. And he would make a birdie from there as well to get himself really in the frame.
His playing partner, Ryan Fox, coming off a couple of good finishes in Australia recently. This putt for birdie at the 10th. He moves to 11 under and now on the edge of contention. And back on the 10th tee, the Australian Ashley Hall, after struggling through the front 9. This tee shot uphill into the breeze at the 10th. Maybe he's going to get things back on track. The sliding left to right putt for birdie, and it goes. Picking up one of those 3 shots that he dropped through the opening 9 holes.
Papadatos with an opportunity to get into the red figure for his round today. That's his second birdie to go with his 1 bogey. Continues to lead the New Zealand Open. And David Klein, who's having a very good round here on this 4th day, with another birdie putt for the Tianao professional.
And Ryan Fox, this putt for birdie, an almost compulsory birdie at the par 5 13th. He's moved to 12 under. Ashley Hall trying to work his way back into the tournament after that struggling opening 9. This putt for eagle at the 13th. That's his 3rd eagle of the week.
Papadatos with an opportunity here to extend his lead early on the back 9. This to get it to 14 under. And he is absolutely proving bulletproof today, the 22-year-old young Australian. So this is how it looks at this stage with Papadatos with a 2-shot lead over a bunch of New Zealanders. Ryan Fox, Mark Brown, David Klein and Richard Lee all in his wake. Here we are on the 14th. David Klein, who's 3 under for his round today. Unlikely contender for this championship title.
Heading to a front left flag here, Telf. Into the breeze, maybe from the right as well. And Ryan Fox coming from the middle of the fairway. He too catching the front bunker.
Meanwhile, here on the par 5, 522-metre 13th hole, this is where the tee shots landed, thanks to Virtual Eye. Out there, the best part of 300 metres. Magnificent drive there from Papadatos and also Richard Lee. Real birdie hole today, isn't it, Bruce?
It is slightly uphill, 250-odd metres here for Papadatos, looking to run it onto the front of the green, maybe up towards the back. There is a backboard behind the hole. It should allow the ball to move back down towards the flag. You can see that taking effect now. This is going to end up very, very well.
Well, this may well be one of the defining shots of the tournament. Meanwhile, Richard Lee coming out of the fairway bunker on this hole.
had no real option here, Telf, other than to lay it up. He was up close to the edge of the bunker lip, and he's come up 100 metres or so short of the flag.
Mark Brown from the middle of the fairway.
Just 10 or so metres shorter than Papadatos on a similar angle, but unfortunately he's let it drift right, and that's left a relatively long bunker shot to try and set up his birdie.
You're back with Ryan Fox out of that front bunker here on 14, so couldn't see his lie, but probably wasn't that favourable. He'll have that putt for his par. Now Klein, he's just seen Ryan Fox, see if he can get a little closer. Yes, seemed to be a more of a controlled shot. And Klein, I don't know whether he even saw that go in. His head wasn't pointed at the direction of the hole, but there's an unlikely 3.
And now Fox from behind the hole, you can see he's just managed to get it moving. It'll make its way all the way to the hole. It's very slippery from behind that hole there on 14. But unfortunately for Fox, that'll be bogey, and that'll slow the momentum that he's been building over the opening 13 holes of round 4.
Meanwhile, Richard Lee just coming out of that short rough there. This is his 3rd shot on this relatively easy par 5. And he'll have that for his birdie.
Good crowds, Telf, after the storm just an hour or so ago. They've remained here on the course. Mark Brown playing this bunker shot and playing it beautifully. Well, that'll set up an automatic birdie, you would think, for him.
Back on the fairway of the 14th, coming into the slightly elevated green. Trying to avoid that bunker that's been a popular collection area today. Lovely shot there from Ashley Hall. Chance to get to 10 under. Now, Stephen Fleming, in the Pro-Am, he's the only amateur in the last group on the course. Plays off a 7 handicap, and that's wide.
Well, a very daunting situation playing in the final group at the New Zealand Open, but the man who bats left-handed plays golf right-handed, Telf.
So Richard Lee, gee, he'd love to make this putt. Birdie putt here on the par 5 13th, but not the best putt he's made this week here at the Hills. Now, Papadatos for eagle.
Right's a lefter. Well, that would have just about put a seal on the outcome, you would think. He's left the door open. Mark Brown to follow with his birdie attempt to stay within touch.
And Papadatos gets it to 15 under. So Brown needs this to kind of stay in touch with the Australian, but he's 3 shots behind him, even with his birdie. Now Richard Lee. He finishes out here on 13 with a putt for par, and it remains at 10 under.
Now we saw Ashley Hall's second to the 14th. This for birdie. Clawing his way back after that horror start today. Off to Chile next week for a Web.com tour event there.
Meanwhile, Papadatos here on 14, 383 metres. Fairly wide, generous landing area on this 14th fairway, but Papadatos, he's been so consistent this weekend. Only 2 bogeys since the end of the 2nd round. Now, Mark Brown, he's 3 shots behind, so I presume Bruce is going to take a more attacking kind of attitude to these closing holes to try and close that gap.
Well, there are plenty of birdie opportunities, but there are still a few danger holes as well. And Mark Brown finding that brown top, that long brown top just off the 2nd cut of rough. So he's in a bit of trouble there, it would seem.
The final pro member of this group, Richard Lee, here on 14. And he too has found that tongue of rough in the little twist in the fairway, the little dog leg. And now we come to the party hole, 301 metres from this elevated tee. It's a drivable hole today, and the pin cut down the front.
You're right. For most of the field, they can get within just a few metres of the front, if not onto the green. And this is David Klein missing the green left. Obviously not the position to miss this green, given where the flag is cut, but he's fed it back off the backboard, and that's going to end up as a very, very good result.
Ryan Fox with a putt for par here on 15. Obviously been in a bit of trouble here. Really don't want to make 5 here, but he salvages a par, but he's still now 3 shots behind the leaders. David Klein, after that very good second, and as soon as he'd hit it, he knew he'd left it underneath the hole, and so that's a birdie opportunity missed for David Klein as he taps in for his par.
But he's done very well, Telf, hasn't he? He's hung in well. for a guy of his relative inexperience. Local golf at Te Anau, not too far away from here as we go back to the 14th. This very thick lie, and of course with the front right flag position, I think for Mark Brown it's really just a case of hacking it out there, and in actual fact that's not a bad result.
You'll need to get up and down there to make par here, or save par here on 14. Meanwhile, Papadatos
from just 95 metres, no doubt in the go zone. Oh, unfortunately he's just got hooked up in that froggy around the edge of the bunker and hasn't come back down onto the green, so that's going to leave a difficult putt from where he is. Now Richard Lee from 93 metres from the left-hand rough, a good angle but only just scraping over the bunker, and now faced with a 30-footer or so for birdie. We head ahead to the 15th tee, the elevated 15th tee, and you can hear the party music in the background because this is the party hole. Ashley Hall with his tee shot coming up just short and right of the green, almost a collection zone there today, and many players coming up at that point. Saw Mark Brown's second from the rough on the right-hand side of 14, now his third. And Ashley Hall, his pitch to set up a birdie at the 15th, continuing what has been a good return from a difficult start for him. After much thought, Papadatos with his third. Unsure whether he might chip that or putt that. He really only needed to just get it moving, and that should set up a par for him. Richard Lee, this lengthy birdie attempt at the 14th. Once again, as was the case on 13, coming up a little short and right. Ashley Hall. The putt to get him to 12 under. What a recovery.
Now Richard Lee to salvage his par here. He makes his 4 here on 14 to stay at 10 under, but he's still well and truly in the wake of Papadatos. This almost a must-make putt here for Mark Brown. On 14, he makes his par. It was a bit ugly, but he got the 4 on the card, and that's all that mattered. And our leader to retain his 3-shot lead over the field as we come to the closing holes. So this is how it looks with only a few holes left. 4 New Zealanders chasing the Australian, but he does have that 3-shot lead. Dimi Papadatos, our leader. Our last group have come to the party hole here, this drivable par 4 from the elevated tee, 301 metres. Let's do a bit of virtual flying here to find out where the tee shots landed, or just off the front edge of the green. Mark Brown is in this right-hand bunker guarding the green, but his bunker play this week has been superb, and there's another example of it.
He has been got out of the traps this week, and we go to Papadatos. Little pitch. Saw Ashley Hill play a very similar pitch just a few moments ago, and he's played that delightfully. 5 or 6 feet behind the hole. Head to the 16th. Ashley Hall to this back flag, 169 metres today. Dangerous hole, potentially dangerous hole late in the tournament. But he's hit a very, very good tee shot there.
Now, Richard Lee, this is where his drive ended, so this is for an eagle. And that would really have got him back into the frame. He's got to settle for a birdie. Papadatos. And, wasn't the most convincing of putts. It trickled into the hole. And he's just providing no opportunity for anyone to touch him.
He's got a lot of friends in the crowd, despite the fact that he's up against some New Zealanders. There seems to be a lot of support from here today. There's Mark Brown. He too makes birdie at the 15th and stays within 3 of the lead.
Now, Ashley Hall, after that very fine tee shot, just didn't quite get the weight right. He'll be very disappointed with that, as he, with almost a perfunctory gesture, just taps it into the hole for his par. He knows that's a big miss for him.
And back on the tee at 16, probably the only hole that could bring him undone, as we saw a couple of years ago with Mike Hendry at the New Zealand PGA Championship on this hole. A 7-iron for Papadatos. And a delightful shot. It'll leave it a little bit of an uphill putt too for him, so a great opportunity for yet another birdie.
Now, Mark Brown knows he's really got to get inside Papadatos here because he's 3 shots behind him. He'll be attacking the pin.
This with an 8 on, he's going at it full bore and right on line too.
He's matching the Australian.